It is your Classic Metal Show right here on the ClassicMetalShow.com. That's Baptized in Blood. That comes from 30 Years of Hell from the Helstar release. And the pastor of the ritual of baptizing you in blood, it's our good friend, James Rivera. Welcome back to the Classic Metal Show there, James.
Thank you. Well, I'm glad to be back, brother. Always glad to be back.
Well, James, you know, Chris couldn't be here with me. He's got a previous engagement, but we were talking, and, you know, we love Helstar. We love your other projects, too. But, you know, one of the projects that I want to get in first before I get into the Helstar is Seven Witches.
Okay.
What is the status? What happened there? Where are you at with that, and are you still involved?
No. We put out one of the strongest, greatest records ever again with me back in the band, Mike LaPon from Symphony X, and Jack just sort of just refused to apply all the attention that it takes for a band to prosper, which, you know, websites, things, you know, all these things, you know, this is a different age and different time period, and we couldn't figure out what the deal. I mean, when he dragged me back into the band, it was, oh, this is going to be the greatest thing, you know, you coming back, the fans are going to love it, and all this enthusiasm, and then it all turned into this weird, like, you know, I don't think we need one of those, and Facebook, well, if you guys want to put one in, it was like, well, what the hell did you do this for? So what we think happened is that really he wanted to do one last great record with the classic lineup and then call it a day, sort of, I guess, you know. But other than that, that's all I got to say about it.
Well,
I mean, that it was a great record, and that was it.
Well, that answers some questions for me, because periodically Jack pops up into my life via the show or me personally. And prior to announcing you rejoining the band, he told Chris and I, kind of on the QT, this is what's happening, and this is going to be the greatest thing ever, and you're going to love it, and I can't wait, and I'm so excited, and then nothing. And we didn't even interview you or Jack for the release of that last record, and we were just like, okay, what happened? Why is this not...
I think we did a total of 3 or 4 shows, and that was it. And you know, and it just basically... Yeah, none of us understand it. Even Mike LaPon hasn't even talked to him, and he lives, you know, within rock throwing distance. They haven't spoken to each other in forever.
Sure.
So we none of us can figure it out, you know. And that was the only thing I could figure out, was that I think that because he would hint around about how he was sick of the metal world and the business, and you know, people can only take a beating for so long, too.
Right.
So bless his heart there, you know. And I think that he just saw it as, I want to put out one great Seven Witches record with the classic lineup that everybody loved. Because, you know, let's face it, the strongest Witches records, and I'm not saying that because I was in the band. I only go by the fans and what everybody else says. But, you know, the Passage and Year, and then this one, you know, they were the strongest records ever. And, you know, and I had a lot of expectations for it. We all did. And, you know, we were all disappointed. But, you know, people are, you know, you gotta give him whatever his choices were. I'd leave it at that. You know, only he knows why he rebuilt it and then burned it to the ground immediately.
Burning the witches, as it were.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, okay. Well, at least I wasn't the only one kind of left in the dark, wondering what the heck happened, because
exactly.
I literally was anticipating something cool and something great in interviews and, you know, hyping the record and hopefully get to see you guys again, and then nothing.
Nothing, yeah.
So I was surprised. But things are kind of under your control with this Helstar. I mean, when it comes to Helstar, for the most part, I would probably say that you're the most active member without your... And I'm going to use a word that isn't meant to be negative, but cajoling. The other members of Helstar may not do anything unless you kind of rally the team, so to speak.
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, I do all the booking and all the management for the band for America, and finally I scored a great booking agent for Europe, one of the bigger agencies in Europe. So that takes that weight off my shoulders. But no, I run the ship, you know. I set it out to sail, and, you know, I tell them where we're going, what we're doing, and what voyages we're going to take next. And as long as their vacation time and all that stuff allows it, then, you know, we're going to be out there doing things. And that's the other thing, is that it was the pros and the cons of reuniting with the original Helstar members again was, since their retirement from before in the past, you know, they all acquired their jobs and their families and their nice homes and all the good stuff that comes with the American dream. And, you know, hey, if I could do that, and, you know, and if that was what I was meant to do, I would have done it too. But apparently it's not. It's just a townhome with 2 cats that are spoiled rotten and rock and roll.
Well,
so, but anyways, you know, and so that's kind of how it is. You're right, you know. But, you know, they count on me a lot for putting everything together. Everything we do, I put together, and you know, we've done quite a bit since we've been back together. But that was the cons, was that because of their schedules, you know, I have to work around that, and I can't just go gun ho and go, guys, let's just get out there and do it for 8 months, man. You know, I mean, if it was up to me, yes, I would do that. You know, and I have to respect all that. And I think though that those little cons really are so minor that the fact that even the fact that Larry Berrigan himself is back with me, which is what everybody considered Helstar anyways, is worth more than its weight, and worrying about just silly things like, oh, well, they only have so much vacation time, I can't go out and tour, you know, all year round. It totally makes it worth it, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, obviously you guys, you know, have been around. You're coming up on your 30th anniversary here shortly. And, you know, looking back over the years and knowing that Helstar has not been a constant force over the 30 years, just been sporadic, I guess you would say. Looking back over 30 years of history with Helstar, is it, you know, I'm trying to phrase this to make sense. Obviously, you're proud of your accomplishments, but are you also sad that Helstar hasn't made a bigger impact? Because it's hard to swallow doing something for 30 years and not gaining the big, bombastic recognition other bands in your genre have.
Oh, of course. I mean, you know, that's an everyday cloud over my shoulders, no matter how beautiful the day is outside, you know, I mean, so to speak. I mean, of course, you know, that there's a lot of frustration, there's a lot of animosity towards the business, there's a lot of, you know, it all comes along with it, but I think at the same time, the thing that makes me breathe a little easier every day is go, well, you know, it could have been this, it could have been that, but it isn't. And be blessed that you got it still going at this rate and at this level. Otherwise, it could be worse, and you could have nothing at all.
That's true.
So, you know, I guess, but for me, businessly and on a realistic level, I have to get up every day and look in the mirror and look at my situation as a human being and my living standards. And of course, yes, it's like, God, you know, you know why? Yeah, you know, it sucks that, you know, that you know, there's not more to it than this, but you know, if you're that unhappy with it, then you need to go ahead and put the lid on the jar for good and put it on the shelf.
Right.
But if you're happy with the fact that this is how it's going to be, and you know, and the other realistic part too, dude, is that, like, you know, it's not going to get much bigger than this ever anyways.
Right.
So, you know, that's just what I got to see. You know, I got to go with, you know, for another, you know, if you did this for another 10 years, I mean, you might get lucky and have the band get to at least an Exodus level, which would still be very rewarding,
Sure.
You know, but look at all the years you have to put into it just to get there, you know. I mean, if you're not happy with that idea, then you need to put the lid on this thing now.
Right.
You know, and so I'm like, no, I'm happy. You know, I'm doing well, I'm healthy, I'm not starving to death, I'm not on food stamps. You know, so I'm doing okay, you know. So after that, yeah, you know, I wipe a tear away from my face and go, it hurts, it's sad because, you know, it is me. You know, I am emotional, I am human, and I would love to have seen this prosper, but we're in a rat race when it comes to this business, dude, you know, and like I said, I guess the best part of it all is you're just lucky you got at least this much now.
Sure. Now, after 30 years, where is your strongest market in the world?
It's still Europe. Still Europe is always. But then again, we're starting to prosper a little bit more in the States again. Of course, at home we're like big-time heroes all over again. And the odd thing is that like we're even bigger than we used to be now in the 80s.
Right.
And like some of the major heavy hitters, the way I call them, the heavy hitter, like publication papers and things that are very important that you're in for promotions, I guess, so to speak. It didn't even give us the time of day back then. Now, every time we play in town, I'm always getting an email from the Houston Press. That's what it's called, and we want to do an interview with you, and we want to promote the show, and we're going to be at the show, and we're going to review it. And I'm like, that's weird because they are the heavy hitters. They're very hard to have them interested in anything locally here, even though they know you're signed and you're a national act. But yeah, all of a sudden it's like every time I play, Houston Press is there, and they're calling me ahead of time, and hey, James, we want to give you some exposure. We're really believing you guys. I'm like,
right.
Okay, so that's the point that I was just making in the earlier question. God, you got to put all these years into this just to all of a sudden find out you are a jewel that's worth shining up a little bit.
Well, longevity does have its perks, and the Classic Metal Show is coming up on our 17th year. So
wow.
Yeah. So, I started this baby in January of 96. So,
holy crap, yeah. So you're lucky you started that when you were 10.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like me, the 30-year anniversary. They're like, man, did you think you would make it that long? And I'm like, dude, when I was 5 years old and we started this, I didn't think so.
Right. Well, you kind of started out like Spinal Tap, and, Helstar is kind of Spinal Tap-ish in a way, especially with the number of drummers that have passed through the Helstar doors.
Oh yeah, I know. It's crazy, but I think we finally found the right drummer, just the right elements for everything right now. And I'd say right now, spiritually, we are on top of the world as far as the direction we're going. It's been 30 years, and of course, we're not writing like we used to in the 80s, and Helstar's created a style, if you think about it. That's another thing to be proud of, is that, okay, we didn't really quite get to Testament level or Megadeth level, but we created a style, and that's really great to know that and hear that when we go out everywhere, and they're younger bands, we've heard this several times and be like, well, what do you guys sound like? They're like, these younger bands will be like, well, we're kind of like Helstar metal.
Nice.
And it's like, wow, what is, it's kind of a weird combination of technical, progressive power thrash, I guess, then, I don't know how to identify it, but, we've gotten heavier over the years. Our new direction, I think we finally found our foundation for where we want to go from here on out, and, it still always has that Helstar flavor to it, and that's kind of a cool thing,
Well, you give the fans a good dose of Helstar on this new release called 30 Years of Hell. You give them 20 tasty tracks to just blow their minds with. And where was this recorded, and what was the impetus behind it? Did you guys just get together and go, hey, you know what, we really need to release a live album to celebrate our 30th, or how did that come about?
Well, we first question, yeah, we recorded it, of course, here in our hometown in Houston. We thought about Europe, we thought about Greece, Athens, or Germany, because we got so many fans over there too. And some people did wonder, I wonder why you guys. But the thing is, our strongest foundation and our biggest fan base is not going to be anywhere bigger than home, right? Why do you think Dorothy was dying to go home? She clicked her heels 3 times, she went home. There's nothing like playing at home. And, and of course, because of the 30-year thing, that was probably the only place in the world that we were going to have people that had been around for 30 years following Helstar. So it made it very special, to do it here at home. But the idea really was mine. I actually had to fight with the label to do it because I think what it was with me is that we did Glory of Chaos with a record before that, and it was such a strong record, and it's time to release. We've been trying to stay consistent and put out one every year now. And I was kind of like, man, I really want to take our time with the next studio record. I want it to be better than Glory, everything we do, we always think that way. It's got to be better than the last. And so I thought, well, to bide our time. And I don't know what it was. I think I had been listening to Strangers in the Night by UFO in my car recently. I've been going through this phase where I'm listening to a bunch of old stuff again all of a sudden. And I remember in the in the late 70s and early 80s, before I even picked up a microphone, and I was a fan of music, mainly this British-German invasion that was considered underground at the time, and any band at that time. Live albums were what made you then.
Sure.
I mean, Kiss had how many albums? 3 albums? Nobody knew who the hell they were, and then put out Kiss Alive, and all of a sudden they're the biggest fucking thing in the world.
Right.
Same with Foghat, Foghat Live. Peter Frampton. Who the hell was that curly-haired little Beach Boy-looking guy? Nobody. And then nice. Peter Frampton Live comes. So the live albums were the big thing back then in my day, and I loved live albums. Now a live album is nostalgia. It's kind of like, it's a collector's thing. They don't really sell a lot, and that there is truth to that, which is why the label was fighting with me. But it really was my idea, because I said, Jesus, and then someone brought up the fact that the 30 years since Helstar has been together, which was 1982, and that lineup actually did come together, was like, okay, 30 years, a special moment. And then I'll be damned if I'm not going to have an official live album like the rest of all the bands that influenced me, and that's how it happened. I want a goddamn live album.
Well, that works for me.
Yeah, 30 years, perfect. I want a live album, perfect. AFM, fucking like it or not, that's what we're doing.
Excellent. All right, James. Well, excellent. Well, the new Helstar release is called 30 Years of Hell. It's got 20 tracks on it. Great recording. You can pick it up today through AFM Records or through like Amazon or any online.
Yeah, you can. It's online. You can pick it up at your local metal store or wherever they. I mean, I've even seen it at Best Buy. We quite didn't make it to Walmart, but who knows? They're so satanic of a damn company that eventually I think they might have some Helstar.
Yeah, well, Walmart shoppers would not be Helstar fans, I don't think so.
No.
Well, you can go check out Helstar. They got a website over there, Helstar. That's just HELSTAR.com. You guys got a Facebook or anything like that?
Yes, we do. We have a Facebook, Facebook/Helstar. And our official website is HelstarMetal.com. That's the official website for us.
Excellent.
And you can find out anything that's going on with us, where we're going, when we're coming, blah, blah, blah.
Nice. All right, James. Well, it's always a pleasure to have you here on the Classic Metal Show. Anything you want to let the fans know or tell the fans we haven't covered here?
Yeah, man. Just thank you guys for following us, and be looking out for Helstar, and also be looking out for my new chapter of my tribute band, Sabbath Judas Sabbath, where I did play in Akron at Ripper Owens Tap House, and I'll be making another come around there, shooting for maybe a Cleveland show, and yeah, just go to those websites and you'll find out everything.
Excellent. All right, James, we always let the artist pick a closing song off the new release. So what do you think we should play, and maybe tell us a quick story about it?
Well, let's see. You know what? Let's go ahead and scare them a little bit, dude. Let's go ahead and play Alma Negra for them.
Oh, no, very nice.
And the quick story behind that is Alma Negra just means black soul in Spanish. And Alma Negra is written about serial killers, and in my vision of serial killers, I mentioned Dahmer, and I mentioned the Night Stalker and all that kind of stuff in there. I throw all these things in there all combined, but really to me, I've always wondered, some cases, you think, God, these guys, how can they do this stuff? They're possessed, Well, Alma Negra is the thing that possessed serial killers.
Excellent. All right. Well, go pick up the new Helstar, 30 Years of Hell, and this is Alma Negra, exclusively here on your Classic Metal Show.